Elden Ring has a lot of fingers.
Oh no.
And so it's only logical for me to try and beat the game with one. So here's a video about how I set out to finger every remembrance boss in Elden Ring. Before I start, I want to clarify the rules for this one. This will be quick since there are only two. 1, I can only deal damage with the big finger, and 2, I must beat all remembrance bosses with it. Pretty straightforward. Now let's get into the video. Starting class doesn't really matter, but I chose Bandit since it has okay stats for my build, a dagger with quickstep, and the buckler, which are surprise tools that will help us later. For any of my Twitch viewers, you may recognize this character from my Elden Ring streams. From back when I actually used to stream. But that's right, Coomer the femboy is making a return, baby. Perfect. On Grafted Scion, I think it's time I went out on my own terms for once.
Oh!
Goodbye.
Have you heard of the finger queef?
Bequeath.
Thank you very much, sir. I grabbed my goat and headed for the Third Church of America to get my physic. Before I got there, however, I quickly made my way past Mr. Fortnite to grab a roofie recipe for later. Then into Mr. Fortnite's fort for the first half of the Dectus Medallion, try saying that 5 times fast, and back to the Third Church of America to take the Sending Gate behind it. From the Bestial Sanctum, I made my way to Fortnite 2 Electric Boogaloo to grab the second half of the medallion. I can't use any other weapons besides the finger to deal damage, which unfortunately means no grail. But while in the neighborhood, I grabbed the Somber Stones 8 and 9. Back to Stormhill to grab the Strength tier before skipping Stormhill Castle yet again. I mean, honestly, that must be the most neglected place for challenge runs. In Liurnia, I help out Miss Scoliosis so that she can take me to her gamer lair later, and I also grab the Dexterity tier. Then straight to Altus. Why are you standing there like that? Run north to the Busted Bridge and full send the gate across. Then head left towards Mount Gelmir past some ruins, and grab the Site of Grace past the wooden bridge because it will be useful later. In the battlefield, just ignore everyone like a real man and take the ladder, what a thrill. And past where Patches is kindly waiting to kick you off a cliff is the Gelmir hero's grave. It's hell in interior design form. Like a true Brit, I pulled out my trusty shank and quick-stepped through the lava quick-steppedly until I got to this room where my only source of damage for this run is located. Just take a bath to get out. Back to Fortnite the sequel to get some runes. I baited this nerd into killing himself. Hey, technically I didn't damage him, so it's within the rules. Also, if you didn't pick Bandit and therefore don't have Quickstep, just stop here before Gelmir Grave for Bloodhound Step. Invest the runes into 15 Strength and 15 Faith. The rest you can do whatever with, but make sure to keep around 17,000 on you. Next, I'm off to say hi to Big Man EG to buy Sombers 1 through 4 and upgrade the finger accordingly. Now we take up Raya on her offer and run through this place for Sombers 5 and 6. I then go back to Kale to buy a crafting kit and the crackpots from him to make our roofie cocktails. For the ingredients, you can get some mushrooms from a fellow British man and then some Trina's lilies in the Mistwood Ruins where I also grabbed the Axe Talisman. And now it's time to fight the Godskin Noble in the Temple of Iglay. I don't have enough sleep pots for the whole fight, so I parried him for the first half and put his ass to sleep in the second. You can also use the Ash of War to get some damage in through the pillars as he's rolling.
Oosh. Okay. Oh, he fucked it up.
In the parkour section, I grabbed the Dagger Talisman for later before dropping down and grabbing a Somber 7, allowing me to now get this thingy up to +9 after fighting just a single boss. And don't worry, that's gonna become a +10 very soon. To finish the setup, I buy a seal and a dagger from the Round Table Hold, and then back to Caelid, specifically Fort Gale, behind which I grab the Flame Grant Me Strength incantation. This is what the 15 Faith was for, by the way. And at the top I grab the Star Scourge Heirloom for some extra strength. Then I flick this knight for Golden Vow, which I apply to the dagger, and while you're here you can also grab the Crimson Dagger from a nearby dungeon for some later parry fights. For Margit though, I just take the Ritual Sword Talisman. So the buff routine so far is plus 20% damage from Flame Grant Me Strength, plus 11.5% from Golden Vow, and plus 10% while I'm at full health. Also plus 10 levels in both Strength and Dex from the Physic, which are the two stats this weapon scales with. Since I'm coming at Margit with a plus 9 weapon, I decided to have a bit of fun with the fight, so I went with a parry strategy, and yeah, Margit got absolutely fingered, giving me access to a second talisman pouch, Storm Veil, and the first of the Remembrance bosses that I'll need to kill for this run. Before moving on, I do want to address the talisman situation, since I really struggled with what talismans to actually equip. I knew that I wanted to use the Shard of Alexander for 15% extra damage from skills, but that doesn't come until late game, so I really didn't know what to put in. So for the most part, I used the already mentioned Ritual Sword Talisman and the Star Scourge Heirloom. And then I also use the Blue Dancer Charm, which raises attack power with lower equip load, which is why you'll, for the most part, either see my character naked or with very light armor. And then I also use the Carrion Filigreed Crest just to lower the FP that my Ash of Wars use, because I really just had no idea what else to put in. But yeah, that's the talisman situation. I will be switching them around eventually for some specific fights and for some specific reasons, but I'll get to that when I'll get to that. But yeah, for now, let's get to Godric. I absolutely rushed B through Stormveil for this guy, because you don't really need to loot anything when you have a plus 9 weapon this early into the game. Godric is really fingerable. It only took 2 jump attacks and 1 Ash of War to get his phase transition, and then his phase 2 is so free, it's unreal. I'll let it play out, but basically I get 1 Ash of War, and on the second you get to see a really nice feature of the finger weapon, is when you do the Ash of War and it sort of inflates. That animation of it inflating, if you're close enough to an enemy, it does some stagger damage. It doesn't do any actual damage, but it does stagger damage. And as you can see here, that is the only thing that prevents him from hitting me, because as the finger inflates, it breaks his stance, allowing me to actually flick him and win the fight. So yeah, that's pretty insane. And also, that is the first out of 15 remembrances, only 14 to go. After defeating Godric, it's time to get a plus 10. Since Vari moves to Liurnia, I can now continue his questline. I speak to him in the Rose Church and he gives me some fingers. Oh, how kind. He must know I'm doing a challenge run. Anyways, remember that grace I said would be important? From there, I went to the nearby ruins where you can find a red NPC invade sign. Invade him and either kill him or die trying 3 times for Vari to give you a cloth and task you with getting some maiden sauce on it. Time to kill Vike, which is a perfect time to mention this weapon absolutely smurfs against anything human-sized.
What is the pinch he's doing there? I have that.
Here I can milk Vike's already dead maiden and take her drip, since a finger maiden outfit seems somewhat fitting for a finger only run. Back to Vare, and now I can travel to Mogwin Palace, where I bum rush this chest right before I enter Mog's boss room for a Somber Ancient Dragon. These nuts! For Ratadog, the strat is to just be more patient than me and wait for him to do his jumping sword slam attack and then flick him, because holy fucking damage! Yeah, man, I think there's nothing left to say about this one.
It's no longer Women's Day.
Unfortunately, I didn't bring enough FP flasks for Ranala, so I could only flick her once, but since she's kinda human-sized, you can definitely bully her a lot more with some Ash of War spam, but I just had to stick with the all reliable, which are heavy jump attacks. But hey, they get the job done, so I can't complain.
Little Riley, my dear daughter.
With Renala down, not only do I get a third talisman slot, but access to the most immaculate fashion imaginable. Her big pointy hat, which looks so good. I don't even care that it makes me do slightly less damage because of the blue dancer charm. It's just, oh, chef's kiss. Also, while I'm in the round table hold, I start one of the 2 quest lines I need to be able to actually finish this run. See, out of the 15 remembrance bosses, only 7 are necessary to complete the game. Then there are 4 optional demigods, 2 random ones that you can just sort of stumble upon, and 2 that are tied to specific quest lines. So I need to do Fia's quest line for Lich Dragon Fortisax and Rani's quest line for Astel Natural Born of the Void. Also conveniently, 2 of the other remembrance bosses, those being General Radahn and the Regal Ancestor Spirit, are also tied to Rani's quest line in some capacity, which means that after talking to Fia and entering the service of another big head lady, I guess that runs in the Carrion family, it's time for a certain festival. After entering the arena, I ride backwards, making Radahn despawn, which means I can buff and I don't have to deal with his rain of arrows and whatnot. The thing about Radahn that gives me a big advantage is that I have enough time to flick him whenever he does one of his ground slam charge up moves, which he likes to do these a lot. And I managed to stance break him right as he lands from his meteor attack, and then I finish off the fight by flicking him right in the dick. The Mimic fight was something I can only describe as a religious experience, so I'll just let you see for yourself.
What?
I just fingered myself. After that, all I had to do was light the 6 fires to fight some endangered wildlife. The Regal Ancestor Spirit is a pretty good fight. I had time for a flick whenever he did a ground slam move, and every flick hit him for a quarter of its health, so even though I got unlucky with him healing twice, I made quite short work of him.
Oh, come on.
Continuing with Rani's questline, I found another poor guy I can use to show just how good this weapon is against human-sized things.
Beautifully fought. My thanks. 'Twas more of a challenge than I envisioned. Now
Yeah, I don't
I
know
can
about that one.
finally stand before them. This is farewell, my dear. Tell Bly
See ya.
and Iji I love them.
Love you too, babe. And to finish off Rani's questline, I fought Astel. A lot of his attacks have pretty long recovery windows, and some just straight up don't hit you when you're under him, so that gave me a lot of time for flicks, and when I couldn't, I just stuck with jump attacks. I also popped a gold pickled foul foot at the end for some extra schmeckles. And Astel also marks the first third of the run down. Yay. Getting access into the capital wasn't too bad. Pro tip here, on your way to Spirit Godfrey, watch out for the gargoyle. Okay. Godfrey marks the point in the game where bosses either stop giving me openings for an Ash of War or give them very rarely unless I stance break them, since they just attack relentlessly, which is why you'll see me jump attack progressively more and more throughout the rest of the run. Despite this, this fight took 40 seconds. Finger, brother. Since I hear Morgoth is into BDSM, I tied him down with Margit's shackle a bunch, which let me do some good flicking, and it just absolutely chewed through his health. But before heading for the mountaintops, it's time to finish Fia's questline, and so it's back to the Roundtable Hall to watch these get murdered, and Fia goes to get some milk. Then back to the capital to go spelunking underground. I fight Sewer Moke for Moke's shackle and access to Deep-Root Depths, without having to fight the dual gargoyles, because fuck that. I made my way to the top, and what is it? I have to fight 5 human-sized enemies? Say less. That's what I thought, bitch.
I knew you would come. What is it you intend? To deny us and our ways like the dogmatic brutes of the Golden Order?
I want mommy, I want milk, I want to be held, I want to be comforted.
You are an odd one.
For Fortisax, I flicked his hand, following it up with a light attack on his head for the opener. Then I made sure to stay in front of him, since the normal dragon strat of just going for feet doesn't work here, and if you stay under him, you'll get targeted by lightning strikes. So I stayed in front of him, and whenever he'd lower his head after an attack, I'd punish it with a jump attack. It took me a few tries to get him, but not a terrible fight. Before going to fight the fire giant, I stopped by Mount Gelmir to talk to Alexander and progress his questline. Onto the mountaintops to beat this big asshole, and I'm gonna go over this quick since I already spent enough time trying to beat him and I'm not wasting any more on him. So it was a tough fight since I get one shot by everything he throws at me. In phase 1, I just punished his attacks with flicks, and after flicking his hand a bunch at the start of phase 2, I just stay on Torrent and swing at his feet, because going for any openings with the amount of bullshit he does in phase 2 was just too risky. Maybe a bit cheesy, but I didn't care at this point.
Fuck you, red big ass asshole. Ah, fuck you. Fuck you! Ah! Hey!
You can absolutely use the strat from my last video for the Goldskin duo and just stick to Fatty. You can even flick him from the pillars while he's rolling for some extra damage, but I just pulled a Bill Cosby to get it over with. On my way to Malekith, I just decided to parry this random Crucible Knight and succeeded, I guess, kinda. Beautiful. Now I can finally finish Alexander's questline to get a 15% damage increase for my Ash of War.
Then let us begin.
I am the great Jar Warrior. I am this Alexander.
What?
As I suspected, victory was impossible. This
I did not
vessel
expect that
was
to
found
only take
lacking.
one. Jesus Christ.
Alexander lived as a warrior to his last.
On Mr. Beast, the squishiness of my character really started to show. Until now, I only had enough vigor so that whenever I'd drink a flask, I'd be guaranteed to be at full health for the Ritual Sword Talisman, and I was naked for light rolling and more damage from the Blue Dancer Charm. However, here I had to concede and start leveling more vigor and putting on some Finger Maiden armor, which still lets me light roll and I still get a decent damage boost from the Blue Dancer Charm, but most importantly, I'm not getting one-shot by everything. As for Malekith, for phase 1 I just went for hit and run tactics. I rolled into him through an attack, R1 and roll away to avoid his follow-up. You can also do a safe Ash of War on the attack where he winds up and does like a ground spin attack if you stick to his ass while he's doing it. For phase 2 I unfortunately couldn't get the Blasphemous Claw since I didn't finger Rykard yet, which would have made this fight a whole lot easier and give me a lot of time for flicking him, but hey, I made do with regular jump attacks. However, at the start of phase 2 I just walk forward a bit and start winding up the flick. He'll land in front of you, he won't hit you, don't worry, and you can flick him, which sometimes breaks his stance. I also recommend taking care of the Draconic Tree Sentinel in front of the boss room so you can buff in peace before the fight. Before leaving Forum Azula though, I backtracked a bit and went to fight Flaccidisax. Here I also decided that since I'm jump attacking a lot more, switching the Blue Dancer Charm for the Claw Talisman is probably a good idea. And it was, because I was breaking posture like nobody's business. And I also ate some fireproof and lightning proof dried livers for extra damage resistance. Back to the now ashen-covered capital, and for the first time in a long time, I actually enjoyed fighting Gideon.
Ring. To become Elden. What a sad state of affairs. I commend us to it, but alas, none shall take the throne. Queen Marika has high hopes for us, but we continue to unto eternity. In my bones, a
Fucked
tyrant
asshole.
cannot become a lord. Not even you.
Hoaraloo is a perfect example of a fight where I can't use my Ash of War simply because the boss just doesn't let me. You can probably sneak in a flick as he's buffing up, but you'd need impeccable timing, so spamming jump attacks it is. At least when I break his stance I have enough time to flick him. However, in phase 2 it's very hard to build up enough poise damage because Hoaraloo is just a nightmare against slower hitting weapons, and so I already had enough trouble finding the time for jump attacks in between his combos, but I don't know, I guess it's just a skill issue. And also I'm very glad I spec'd more into Vigor, because in phase 2 I got grabbed like 3 times, but I lived to tell the tale.
Tarnished. Thy strength befits the crown.
For Radagon, I decided it's finally time to get good and went with a parry strategy. So I equipped the Dagger Talisman alongside the Crimson Dagger Talisman, and I started off the fight with a jump attack and a light attack. Then I got ready for parrying. From there it was just parrying what I could, dodge what I couldn't, and punish some moves with jump attacks. It takes 3 parries to stance break him, but I still stuck a light attack in between every parry. And I'm gonna be honest, this was probably the most fun fight I ever had in Elden Ring. Even though I tend to hate Radagon, but I don't know, it was just so fucking fun. And by the way, this footage is me beating him on a practice run, which is why I don't even have buffs on, because I genuinely didn't expect to beat him. And Elden Beast was also pretty easy, if not a bit tedious as usual, but it just sort of kept running away from me. But I have the Halic Tree Talisman +2 on me, and the Finger Maiden set also provides pretty good holy damage resistance, so Elden Beast is a piece of cake.
foot, baby. Let's go! Woo! And fingered as well. Oh my god.
Based on that celebration, I'm almost convinced past me forgot that the run wasn't over yet, but anyways, only 3 demigods to go, so let's get this over with. I already had the Grace outside Moog's arena, so I went to him next, and I have no idea how I pulled this first try win out of my ass, but it was an insane clutch.
Come on, please, just get stance broken. Ah! Oh! Oh, gold pickle. What? Brother. Completely out of flasks. Oh my god.
Then I made short work of Commander Nile to get my grubby little hands on the Halictree medallion. I didn't really feel like doing the Ordina Town puzzle, so I just skipped it, and then I also skipped a chunk of the Halictree and went straight for Loretta.
Nice.
I'm not gonna lie, Melania was much easier than I expected. I found a way to kind of script her and get her stuck in this stagger loop, so I'd basically just spam jump attacks until I stance broke her. You can also try parrying if you fancy. Then crit, flick her, jump attack followed by a light attack, and then if you can punish her follow-up with another jump attack, bam! She's back to her knees like a gas station hoe. This still somewhat works in phase 2, since I don't even need to stance break her myself. I can just wait for her to do her dive bomb attack and flick her from that. The timing is a bit tight though, so I'd usually just trade 1 tick worth of Scarlet Rod damage for a huge damage opening. And also in phase 2, don't follow up the jump attack with a light attack, you will catch a kick in the face otherwise. And as far as Waterfowl was concerned, if like me you're on light roll, even if she pops it in your face, just roll back 3 times, then into her twice, and then back 1 more time and you're golden.
Your strength. Extraordinary. The mark of a true
A remembrance of the rock goddess.
dear Mikola.
Yeah, dear Mikola.
Dear
Give me the DLC.
Mikola.
I want the DLC, Mikola. Where's the DLC? And now it's only Rykard left, which is a fight I was kind of worried about ever since I started this run, so I did a bit of prep. First, I grabbed the set with the 2nd highest fire resistance in the game, the Tree Sentinel set from the this hero's grave. Then I grabbed the Icon Shield from the Woodfolk ruins, which passively regenerates my HP as long as I have it in my offhand, and the talismans I used were the already mentioned Claw Talisman, and then the Blessed Dew Talisman for even more passive HP regen, the Flame Drake +2 for more fire resistance, and the Pearl Drake +2 for increased elemental damage negation. I also put the Opaline Heart tier into my physic to further boost all my damage negation. Mid-fight, I also popped Radahn's Great Rune for more HP, FP, and stamina. If you're wondering why I popped a Great Rune mid-fight, it's because despite my worries, I beat Rykard on the first try, but it took 15 fucking minutes. And I thought the 7-minute Godskin duo fight from the last video was bad. As for the fight itself, I just spammed jump attacks, which actually meant I significantly reduced the amount of tick damage Rykard's lava did to me. In phase 2, I targeted his legs because they had the most consistent hitbox, and I used the skull emoji attack to passively regenerate HP. It was a fucking marathon of a fight, but I did it, and with Rykard down, I have officially fingered every Remembrance boss in Elden Ring.
Oh my god. Oh. There it is. There it is. First try, which is kind of insane. But yeah, that is that's all of them. That is all 15, baby. Fucking, it's over. Let's go. And so there it is, another run down. A pretty cool thing is that I managed to do it in under 20 hours, and it took me only 2 hours longer than the death run, on which I only beat the bosses required to beat the game. But anyways, thank you guys so much for watching, and if you got this far, I want you to know it really means a lot. The support I got on the last video was insane. I did not expect that video to blow up like it did, but I'm incredibly grateful for all the positive comments, and I do read all of them. So I'm gonna try my hardest to keep bringing content as high in quality as I can in the future, and if you have any ideas for builds or strategies or challenge runs you'd like to see, don't hesitate to let me know in the comments, and hey, maybe you'll see your idea in a future video. Once again, a big thanks to all of you, and I'll see you once I cook up yet another dumb way to beat Elden Ring.